Welcome to Pillow Talk with the McCoys. We've been married 30 plus years. Just want to share some of our conversations with you.
So today we're here with our friends, the Turners. And again, we're just going to have an intimate conversation with them that we are sharing with you all. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Theo Turner. The both of us, we've been married for now 23 years. And we have known each other even longer, almost 30 years now.
And I'm Malika Turner, and I'm excited to be here.
Okay. So Turners, Theo, Malika, share with us, share with everyone how you two have made it work for over these 23 plus years. We know you lead busy lives between the two of you. We know you're parents to two active boys or young men. There's an entrepreneur or entrepreneurs. We have an author, visionaries. Just share with us how you two have made it work and actually how you have time for each other.
I think what is rare is that we work in the same place. Like we both work at IUP, and we've worked together under the same division for over 20 years. And so that has afforded us the opportunity to be able to do lunches and, we're at meetings together. We're, maybe popping into each other's offices. So, a lot of our friends, we don't have that, right? They're not working together. And so I think that allows us to see one another and just make connections throughout the day that we might not be able to do if we worked in two separate locations.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I know some people always say, I don't think we could work together and have lasted these 30-something years. So that's a testament in itself that you two work together so you see each other throughout the day. So that's just amazing. I know that you two are in ministry as well. So that adds another strain to the marriage. So kudos to you all for making it work for these 23 plus years.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Aside from your boys, what's your greatest achievement in marriage? Or what are some of the most things you are most proud of?
That's a good question. I know for myself, because as we've been sitting here just talking and I guess looking over some of the past experiences, I think one of the greatest things for myself is, and we hear it, we've heard this probably since we first started to date and come together, communication. I think what's making our relationship even stronger even to this day is our willingness to communicate, to talk to each other about certain things, even when those things are uncomfortable. Being able to communicate, being able to talk about certain things, especially when you're having difficult conversations like with finances, about raising your kids, all of those different things become, sometimes it can become challenging, but being willing to say, this is what we need to talk about, this is what we need to lay on the table, put on the table, and have these discussions and talk things out so we both on the same page. Because if, even though we work together in the same place, if we don't talk, we're no different than anybody else in the room. But that's being able to have a conversation about certain things and having those difficult conversations, it's hard sometimes. And I know my wife will tell you, sometimes the conversations we've had to have been very challenging because you don't want to talk about it. You just want to let it go, but you have to talk about it if you want. And I think that's been what I've seen as we've been sitting here, kind of pondering over that. I think us being willing to just have that conversation, have those discussions, really has brought out even the best of what we potentially could. I'm going to use that word. potentially, because there's so much more, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's really good. Is there one of you that's more willing to talk more than the other about, to have these difficult conversations? Sometimes, you might have one spouse that would just rather not have the conversation, or both of you pretty much, have you arrived where you're on the same page most of the time? Or
I think it depends on the topic.
No, I think
That's
you're
understandable.
right. I think it depends on the topic. I think, for those couples out there, it's intense, as he was saying.
intense fellowship.
Intense fellowship, absolutely. But I think there are times when I want to just run right in and talk about it, and he's not ready. I think what has been rewarding on the same lines of what's been rewarding, or was I think rewarding for any wife, but definitely for me, is when my husband says, we need to talk.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Because I think typically, we would probably say that we've seen in the past where the husband will, let me just wait, I'm not ready, or I don't want to talk about it. But when he says, we need to talk about this, I think that really, it's like an about face for me. And I realize okay, this is good.
Yeah.
All right, let's handle it.
Yes.
As tough as it could be, when he says we need to talk, I know this is something we need to address. And I think that's rewarding when your husband wants to talk.
Absolutely. I know, I just sent a message to my husband the other day. We need to talk. And it was in the form of a text message because there has been a conversation, that we've been avoiding having. I don't want to say avoiding, but just weren't ready.
Right.
And sometimes you just, like you said, you have to settle yourself.
Right.
You have to think about some things, and then when you're ready to have that conversation, you have it.
Right.
So with that being said, what is your biggest strength as a couple?
I think two things that come to my mind. One is kind of along with the communication. When we do workshops together and present together, and we've had the opportunity to do that on our jobs at a conference, or we started a business. I reminded him, he said, we started a business called Turner Motivations years ago.
All right.
And we went to the University of Pitt, Johnstown. We presented there to students. I think we went to Slippery Rock. So that's Clarion. So that's one, on the one hand, just that working together, communicating information to others. But I think also on a more personal note, when we host at our home, we know our strengths. People from students to family. We used to host Memorial Day picnic every Memorial Day and have our family come in. And so much has happened in that, breakthrough moments in our families. So I think we do that really well. And I think we've taught our sons how to do that. I noticed when folks came over for Thanksgiving, they just kind of, you got to give them that text message, this is what I expect. I just want to remind you how this goes, because it's been a while. Okay. But they kick right in and know how to host and how to make people feel welcome. So I think that we do that really well.
And I agree. That's probably our biggest strength, is how we work together and how we play off of each other on a number of different things, especially when we're doing workshops or different things like that. And I think that started from way back when we were just dating. We did a couple of workshops when we were just dating. And we just blended doing those workshops and doing those sessions. So it made it a lot easier. It makes it a lot easier when you're able to do that.
I know I've seen you two first-handedly how you work together, and I do pride you on that. I know in ministry, it's like you tag team. I see you work together, and you're that power couple in ministry. I've seen you two in your home, even on your jobs. I've had the privilege of being able to host a workshop and have you two be presenters, and the feedback that I received was amazing. It was awesome. You two work together very well. And it's like you don't compete. I know.
When you're young, you don't know them. Right. Now you're like, I know where you stand. I know your strengths.
each other's strengths and knowing how to build off of each other's strengths. So again, I've seen you myself work together in different levels in different areas or arenas, and you do such a good job. So yeah.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break from the action, but allow me to invite you to join us for the Pillow Talk Marriage Conference on Friday and Saturday, March 24th and 25th at the Hotel Indigo on 329 Technology Drive in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Join us for marriage enrichment, powerful speakers, workshops, vow renewal, and more. Hotel booking and information can be made on www.hotelindigo.com/PittsburghUNI. That's www.hotelindigo.com/PittsburghUNI.
So let me ask you this. I'm going to move on to another question. I know when you get married, couples have certain expectations when they go into marriage. Are the expectations that you both had early in marriage still the same? If not, how has that changed? I mean, you may have expected something out of him. He may have expected something out of you.
I'm gonna go first. Yeah, no. I mean, yes, they have changed. No, I don't have those expectations. I think I put a lot of pressure, or maybe not pressure, but I had these expectations. I was pushing this like agenda for my husband, which put a lot of strain on our marriage for a good while. And I think I realized, like, for one thing, you married this man. So you need to, okay, this is your man. Right. This is a man you married, right? And that's not, it's not negative, but it's just, don't try to like marry him and then mold him into something, right? And I think a lot of times, unfortunately, for us, our generation, a lot of TV, you watch a lot of TV. This generation, a lot of social media, you see what people are putting out there, but a lot of times that's not real. It's just as equivalent to a script as a TV show, right? Wow. So you have to, if you're going to go into marriage, you need to go into marriage with your eyes open and accept the person for who they are, who they show you they are. And then for women, we need to learn how to pray for our husbands, lift them up, and recognize that God is not going to be no immediate change. You're talking about personalities. You're talking about somebody, like if you're 40 or 30, they've been 30, all their life, right? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Whatever is in there for those first 30 years, and you trying to change them in like 2 years. It's like, we're married now, change. That's unrealistic, and I had to learn that. And so I think once I took those expectations off that he didn't even know about before he said I do, I think it helped the marriage, and it helped me to have more peace. It helps me to trust God and to love him, right? And I think that's the struggle we have. Like, I want to love the person I'm trying to make you into, as opposed to loving who I married.
Right. Yeah. And also, I think as you get older, I mean, like you said, we've been married for 23 years. Your perspectives, a lot of things have changed. You mentioned about social media. 20 years ago, was there really a social media? Not the way it is today. There was no Facebook. But now we have Facebook. Now we have TikTok. All those different ways of communicating. This is what some people, perceive marriage. Right. And so we put these, a lot of times you see certain things, and as you get older, those things change. I would go as far as say every 5 to maybe 6 years, we all look at things differently. I mean, we were young in our early 20s. We don't look at things how so the expectations are different. I don't look at this the same anymore. I know right now I'm not going to look at that same thing the same as I did when I was in my 20s, or even when I was in my 30s, or even 40s.
Right.
So you.
Wait. You saying you're not in your 40s?
I'm
Know
not
what you
in my
said?
40s.
Okay.
I am still.
But here's the thing, and this is, I think, where it becomes very interesting as you are going through these different stages in your 20s, 30s. You're looking at a different person.
Right.
You're dealing with a different person.
Yes.
Where if you play it correctly, it's almost as if you're dating a new
That's
person
good.
every
Yeah,
so
that's
many years.
All right.
To where you're able to keep the fire burning,
Yes,
keep
yes.
the excitement in that
Yeah.
relationship. Because now, what do I need to do to date this person again? Which kind of can make it really nice if you do it right. So it's really just that's where we go back to the whole communication, talking to each other, where you begin to see what that person, where they're coming from.
Yeah.
You know, I know she's not the same person she was when she was in her 20s. I'm dealing with a totally different person. So how do I deal with this person? How do I date this person? How do I, woo this person? And, all the different things that you do.
That's right.
So yeah, so when you hear people who are separating, they say things like, I don't know this person anymore. They've changed.
Absolutely.
Yes, they have.
Absolutely.
If truth be told,
Exactly.
they have changed too. They
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Everything has changed.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
you
Takes
can't
one-
expect that 20-year-old that you ran into somewhere, wherever you met them at, when you are in your 40s.
Right.
You can't look at that person the same. And so working with them, dealing with them, that's where you can keep this whole relationship actually fresh if you really deal with it right.
Yes. That's really good. I hope if they don't get anything else out of this conversation, that you do get that.
Right.
We are yet changing and evolving. All right, if you know then what you know now, if there is one lesson you could pass on to younger couples, what would it be?
If you knew then what you know now.
I would say is take more time in the details of a relationship. A lot of times you get to the place where you just want to get together, get married, and get this thing started, get the family going, but paying attention to the details of what makes that person unique, what attracted you to this person, what made you want to say, I want to spend the rest of my life with this person. Paying attention to the details, going a little bit further than the surface stuff. Because once you come over on the other side, now you're seeing all of the details, and it becomes challenging. I would say our first 2 years of marriage, it was very challenging from the standpoint of just I'm getting to know and I'm seeing those details that I did not pay attention to because I just wanted to get married. I'm excited. I'm married.
The excitement of marriage. Yes.
But now we're married, I can't ignore the detailed stuff that makes her who she is. And so now I would always encourage a young couple to pay attention to those details because then now you get to know that person a little bit better, and you may be able to do things differently that might make even the relationship even sweeter.
Yeah, and I would say date. I don't think we were together for a long time, but as far as the dating, right? As far as the details, if that's something he doesn't or she doesn't like to do, you need to have that conversation prior to getting married, because that's an expectation.
Right.
Right. So if that's an expectation that you have, then that's important. And the second thing I would say is wise counsel. Don't be afraid to let people into your marriage early, to speak into your marriage wisdom. And that's so important. I think that's important. I think a lot of times, you know, we feel like we know, right? Where do we know from? You know, marriage for me came from my grandparents.
Mhm.
But what worked for that generation,
Right.
that didn't always work in my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, wise counsel, being open, I think is really important. That's what I would tell a couple right now.
And I find that to be so important, especially someone like you two. You lead busy lives, like I said, but you still have to take time to date each other. So I think that was so important that you said that. That's something that I know my husband and I in our 30-something years of marriage. I mean, we've known each other over 35 years. But when our kids all left the house, people were saying, "You're going to be empty nesters." I wasn't going to be happy about being empty nesters because
Right.
everything we knew was about our kids. But then it didn't last long. Let me just say that. It didn't last long because, you know, when one was going to college, it was time for another one to come back home. And no one had told us at the time that they'd come back home. No one told us that. But let me just say this, when they first left, I mean, you know, it was wonderful. Like, I wasn't happy that we were going to be empty nesters, but it was just wonderful because we had the opportunity to again get to know each other again and to start dating each other again.
Right.
And you like you said, you don't stay at a certain age, and so you're gradually learning more things about each other. And some things you like, some things you don't.
Right.
Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. But we're still here because
That's
we're
right.
learning one another. And I'll let you talk, but I just wanted to say, you know, we oftentimes say, we've been married this long because Jesus is the center. No matter what we go through, no matter what we do. And I know that may not be the case for everyone, but for us, that's what has made it work. For you guys, like, since it seems like you work together so well as a team, and I'm sure that you can say too, yes, prayer. And prayer does change things. And my husband has that testimony as well. He says it oftentimes. He prayed and asked the Lord to change me. What did he do?
He changed me first.
Said he did change me.
Let me just say prayer works. And so, you know, marriage in itself, it's amazing. It's an amazing thing. And I say, we've enjoyed this conversation with the Turners today. But what I wanted to close with and state was there's a scripture in Mark, and it says that two will become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one. And therefore what God has joined together, let no man separate. And I said that to say that, you know, marriages work. And we do what we need to do to make it work. Like I said, you know, if you have to go back to dating one another, or if you have to continue to have those difficult conversations, till you can both get on the same page, you do what you need to do to make it work. So you can get to 23 plus years, 30 something years, you know, however many years.
That's right.
So I think if we just went around this table, we would all say it's work. But it's worth it.
It's work, but it's worth it work.
No doubt about it. You know, relationships are everything, and in order for marriages and couples to make it and to last, it's work, and you have to put the time in.
That's true.
And but I just want to say I want to say that, you know, you had said something that made sense. How you made mention about paying attention to detail. You know, and I know sometimes it's easy to overlook those things and to take our partner for granted, and, you know, look over those things or not, you know, pay attention to certain things. But that was a good word, and I appreciate you letting our audience know, you know, we must pay attention to details in our relationships. And this has been a true and wonderful conversation. Thank you, Turners. Appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yes.
Yes.